I spent the past week here on the Pacific coast in El Salvador, meeting with local business people and getting to see the remarkable story of the peace that has brought prosperity to El Salvador, thanks to their rather unusual leader, Nayib Bukele. I also went to a barber shop and noticed that trenches are dug and all of the equipment is in place to lay in sewage systems. The road to the airport has large cranes and heavy equipment building up bridge abutments that will smooth out that path so that traffic from the airport to the big tourist area that I'm in will go much smoother. And so the prosperity that Bukele has brought is real, there's no question about it. But for one specific reason, I would not invest in El Salvador. And in fact, I would never live here. In this video, I'll tell you why. Talking to cab drivers and various help and wait staff and some of the people here in the town to find out how life has changed in the last 3 to 4 years when it finally became safe to walk around and allow your daughters and wives to get out of the house and enjoy themselves and go shopping and do certain things that we take for granted in other parts of the world. You realize how dire the situation was here. It's very difficult for me to imagine that level of danger that doesn't even allow you to go from one neighborhood to the other because you might be mistaken for somebody who shouldn't be in that rival gang's territory. And so I found El Salvador to be full of very helpful, very hopeful, motivated people. I've seen this before when I was in Guatemala shortly after their civil war ended several decades ago now. You could feel the sense of cautious optimism that said, hey, this time we might actually be able to put something together that lasts and allows us to grow in prosperity each year, along with some security that we haven't had for a very long time. All of those emotions, all of that is in the atmosphere here. However, the truth is El Salvador is positioned on the edge of a knife. Last week, as I'm filming this, the police chief that cleaned up the gang problem in El Salvador, Mauricio Arriaza, if I'm saying it correctly, was killed in a helicopter crash. He went to the border with Honduras to pick up somebody who had been detained and arrested, white-collar criminal who was trying to flee the country. He was captured at the border before he got into Honduras, and the police chief flew in a helicopter with some of his people. When the helicopter took off to head back to the capital to bring this miscreant back to San Salvador, the helicopter crashed. Now, this is, to put it mildly, the kind of suspicious thing that's been going on quite a bit. It's very normal down here. It does seem like it could be read as a message. Bukele understands perfectly well that his situation is very delicate. Whatever's going to happen in El Salvador, he has tried to create a situation that if Bukele is taken out, an organization will carry through the vision that he has started. But the fact that his police chief, who was the central figure who helped clean up the gangs and marshaled the state's forces and the army to bring order back to El Salvador and did a magnificent job, the results and the success speaks for itself. There's no question that Bukele understands that he's been sent a message and that his own safety, his own security, his own ability to remain in power is very precarious. And so for those reasons, I don't know that El Salvador is the place for expats to be setting up shop. However, any place that's been this beat down for this long is at least worth considering, because if you can find somebody who's hungry to do a deal and it makes sense to do it, you may be able to sit on your investment, and if the prosperity continues, you may be able to do very well. It's exactly what I did in Guatemala, but that's a lot of ifs about what's coming and how it's going to play out. But that's not the reason that I wouldn't live in El Salvador. The truth is, El Salvador is just too hot. I've never been to a country that's this hot and humid. We're in high summer as I'm filming this, but even with the proximity to the ocean, it's not enough to actually make you want to live in a place like Salvador. That said, we were up in the mountains. We actually drove past Bukele's neighborhood. He does not live in the presidential mansion. He lives in a little, they call down here colonia, like a subdivision. And so we drove past that, went up to see a volcanic crater that last erupted in 1917 and barely by a whisker missed destroying all of San Salvador. And so it's very pleasant up there. We were around 5,000–6,000 feet. It's beautiful. The nature is fantastic. There's lots and lots of cool things to do here, and the people are truly delightful. They are breathing a sigh of relief after years and years of struggle and suffering, and it's marvelous to see. They are trying to attract all kind of professionals. He's made several thousand or 1,000 passports available to people who want to go all in, but understand that El Salvador still has a long, long way to go. It's very promising what's happening here, and while we're all cheering for Bukele to win, we're all cheering for this guy to hold on and to really make good on what he's begun. El Salvador, really right now, it's more of a story. There's a whole lot that still has to go right in order for El Salvador to be a prime destination. Right now, this would be a very secondary, a very distant third, fourth, fifth place kind of option for anybody looking to relocate.
Right now, you can join the X-Plan community for just $1. Click below to get all the details. Instead of passively obeying the lunatic decisions by cognitively impaired political hacks, we're building a future where international diversification ensures our freedom and prosperity. You'll get easy access to resources and contacts to help you structure your own international lifestyle, including how you protect your money outside the U.S. banking system, how to quickly get legal documents that allow you and your family to enter a friendly, welcoming, peaceful jurisdiction when trouble hits North America, where to invest in top-tier income-producing real estate, and much more. If you decide you want the convenience of private consulting, we offer that option too, but at a tiny fraction of what other so-called experts are charging. So you don't have to break the bank trying to protect your family and preserve your wealth in the chaos of the 2020s. Click below to get all the details and join the X-Plan community for just $1, and I'll see you on the inside.
That's it for me. Remember, your freedom begins when you realize nobody's coming to save you. I'll be back with more great stuff. Thanks very much.